Hi guys, Frost here. Welcome back. It's been 6 months since we got the very first playable version of Classic World of Warcraft, BlizzCon 2018, the Classic WoW demo. And while the demo was something nice to have, it wasn't really met with good feedback. A lot of things were not supposed to be in the game, spell mechanics weren't working correctly, graphics changes, and all the things that we already covered in many videos. Now, after the demo was over, everyone gave their feedback, and I remember making 3 update videos, and I urged players and people to give constructive criticism opposed to yelling and blaming the developers and considering this a dead game or a bad game. And that happened. A lot of people left a lot of feedback, and for 5 months after that there were 0 updates regarding Classic World of Warcraft, which kind of brought me a bit down because we have a channel here that is focused on Classic World of Warcraft. It's focused on setting hype for this game, incentivizing people to play, and having a great community, right? And that was a bummer for me. If you remember, during January and February, I think I made only 1 video, and at the beginning of March I made a video, and at the end of the video I stated that I kind of lost my hype, and that was true in a way or another. But then something happened. After 5 months of no updates, suddenly during the past 30 days we got 5 major updates regarding things that were very important and which most of the Classic WoW community considered them game-breaking. But one update that made me restore faith in the Classic WoW development team and the community managers was the spell batching update. And somewhere in the middle of the article there's a statement that says the following: "As with many other areas of WoW Classic, authenticity is our primary concern." Now, if you guys don't know about spell batching, I won't get into details. It was covered briefly by a couple of YouTubers, and OG Haptics, if you know him, and Gami made a topic on the World of Warcraft Classic forums, which got a lot of feedback. It was something on the side. People were focusing on loot trading, sharding, right-click report, and so on. But the implication of spell batching are pretty big in World of Warcraft Classic. Now, normally a development team of any other game would say something like, but why would we downgrade from an engine from 7.3 Legion which process spell perfectly to an engine of 2004 that the spells go in one batch and with latency, right? Because basically what spell batching is, it's a refresh rate to which data from your client is transferred to the initial server. So what means if a couple of players cast spells at the same time, they will be registered at the same time. Now in Legion this changed, and they have more ticks on that. So not only that the spells are prioritized on registering to the server first, basically it's very complicated. But to give you some examples, for example, if a warlock casts a shadow bolt, a rogue can vanish it. If 2 rogues cast gouge at the same time, they can both gouge, or 2 mages can polymorph each other at the same time, and so on. And that is big for the PvP scene in Classic World of Warcraft, because the PvP was always a thought out process between 2 players. If 2 rogues, for example, were gouged each other, you had time to think what you can do your next move. Now this spell batching is still in Modern WoW, but it doesn't happen that often. In World of Warcraft, the players actually made spell batching to be used as a skill. And not only that, professions like engineering have a lot of gadgets that were made and tested with spell batching, with the spell batching that was in Vanilla WoW. For example, the spell reflectors from engineering, you know, the fire, frost, and shadow reflectors. Let's say a mage fights a rogue, and both of them have fire reflectors equipped. If the mage casts a Pomp Pyroblast to the rogue can reflect the spell to the mage, but the mage, when he sees the Pyroblast coming back, he can reflect it back to the rogue. You know, like there's so much depth to engineering and PvP in Classic World of Warcraft that if you have a 7.53 Legion spell batching system in your game, won't work like they used to work. So the PvP won't be exactly like that. But the Classic WoW team actually thought about this, and it's just great. They're willing to go the extra 100 mile and make Classic great for us again, which is quite great. Now let's move to the next update, which was the loot trading. When it was first announced at the BlizzCon Classic WoW panel that loot trading would be in the game, it was a big disappointment in my heart. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you know what loot trading is. It was added in Wrath of the Lich King, and it's basically a 2-hour window. In case you roll need on a bind on pickup item, then you will be able to trade it to a party or raid member. Maybe you missed click on need button, or maybe you rolled on it and then you realized that it's not a great upgrade for you, so you would be able to trade it to your friend without the need of making a ticket to the Blizzard Game Masters. A good change maybe for them, not necessarily for the game, and especially not for vanilla World of Warcraft. As soon as people heard this feature for classic World of Warcraft, they came up with hundreds of examples, and the creativity of vanilla WoW players, it's quite big, and they came with hundreds of examples on how you can exploit this system, and some of them were like just 3 people running Blackrock Depths and rolling for their friends to get the items and then trade them for their friends, and so on. And normally when I first heard of this, I made an update and told something like, okay, maybe if you don't have enough staff to take care of all the tickets that people are sending regarding to misplaced loot, maybe you can just remove the loot trading from 5-man dungeons and 10-man dungeons and only keep it in raids. And the argument was that raids have a self-policing, like guilds, right? They have a self-policing system where, for example, if 2 rogues, you go on Molten Core and one gets the Perdition Blade, either through DKP or through a roll system or a loot console system, if Johnny gets the Perdition Blade, if the second day he does not have it anymore and trades it to a guild member, that Johnny can be punished, right? Johnny can be kicked from the guild, the item still stays in the guild, and so on. So it's not a big deal, and it definitely solved the problem with tickets, right? Because most of those tickets were made because of epic items. I'm not sure if everyone would make I don't know, a ticket because a Cruel Barb from Deadmines went to someone else. So they came to the conclusion that removing loot trading from 5-mans is a good idea, because it doesn't leave room for exploits, and keeping it in raids is a good idea, which I think myself that is a good idea. There will be a couple of pug raids in classic World of Warcraft. Some people will run Molten Core weekly and so on, but even if they try to abuse this system, no one will join in raids because they will be considered as ninjas, right? In order to join a pug in classic WoW, you have to know the guys, you have to have faith in the guys. If someone ruins their reputation by ninjaing with the system an item, they will get bad reputation for that. And this update was very big. And they also made a continuation. The answer to the UBRS question is loot trading will be only available in content that it's raid locked. So only in major raids, no UBRS, which was very nice to see, because this was one of my biggest issue with the game. Okay. Moving on, we got the Alterac Valley in Classic update. Now, Alterac Valley was one of the updates that the community thought it was the least good one. They went with the 1.12 version, or at least they say they will go with the 1.12 version, and that means a lot of things. Now, for those of you who don't know, Alterac Valley went through so many changes. This battleground was updated in almost every patch, from 1.50 to 1.12. Almost every patch they received upgrades regarding the NPCs, the mind bombs, the summoning of bosses, the item that you were able to loot, and so on. They actually stated in the update that some NPCs were too strong and had too much health points, and well, the community went like 50-50 on this. Some of them were okay with the 1.12 version, and some of them stated that they wanted to experience the 24 hours long Alterac Valleys. They wanted to experience the summoning of Korak, the Blood Rager boss. And while that is true, I think, in my opinion, 1.12 is not that bad. You have to keep in mind that this update, it's not probably the final one, as we'll talk later in the video. The content release plan, it's not set up yet for PvP. And when Classic World of Warcraft will be released, the battleground won't be there at the beginning, so they still have enough time to rethink Alterac Valley if they choose to. And based on the feedback they received so far, they might change it. Maybe they'll make it in 3 different patches. Maybe the first one you will be able to summon the boss. Maybe some of them will be able to last 24 hours. So I don't think it's a final update on this, and even if it's 1.12, I guess I can go on with this. But yet we have to wait and see, because they changed their mind on so many things so far. Why not change it on Alterac Valley, since they got all this feedback? Let's move to our next update, which was the content release plan, which was one of the longest updates we got, and probably, in my opinion, one of the best. Initially at BlizzCon 2018 at the Classic WoW panel, they announced 4 stages for the content release plan, and I think the first stage was Onyxia, Molten Core, Darmol, and Maraudon. But then they changed their mind and made it to 6-phase content release due to the feedback of the community. Thank you very much, guys. And I think they understood themselves what progression means for the longevity of a server and for the fun you have in the game, because it's not cool to get everything at start, right? So they even talked about things like Titanic leggings. If you guys don't know, Titanic leggings are the best in slot pants for warriors up to Naxxramas. Some say even better than the ones in Naxxramas, that's debatable. But the plans for Titanic leggings dropped in patch 1.10, so they're willing to put those plans to drop later in the game's timeline, not become available at launch. They talked about a lot of things with itemization, and they said something that they will review items that are too powerful to be at a certain point in game, which is very great. Probably not everything will be removed, but the new phase looks something like this. Phase 1, Molten Core, Onyxia, and Maraudon, which is there because Maraudon was released 1-2 months after 1 month, I think, after the initial release of World of Warcraft. Phase 2, Darmol and world bosses, Azurgos and Skazak. Phase 3 will have Blackwing Lair and Darkmoon Fair, including the decks. Phase 4, Zul'Gurub and Green Dragons, which is good. Green Dragons gets you prepared for 8040 to farm nature resistance gear. Zul'Gurub also provides a lot of content. Phase 5, Ankiraj War Effort, opening the Gates of Ankiraj, and dungeon loot reconfiguration, tier 0.5, gear, relics, drop rates, and location changes. And of course, Phase 6, Naxxramas and the Scourge Invasion. Yes. So they continue stating that we haven't determined exactly when Phase 2 to 6 will occur, and PvP content is notably missing from the list above. They're not sure yet when to add it. That's because we're still evaluating our options regarding PvP rewards, as they also change over time, both in terms of power and in terms of which PvP reward items were available. While we cannot elaborate on every detail of every step we're going to take yet, we're here reading all your questions and we're going to keep the answers coming. So yes, this is not final, that's what they're trying to say. So normally we have to figure out the phases. Now phase 1 has Onyxia, Molten Core, Maraudon, and the journey to level 60. So in my opinion, phase 1 should be the longest one. Maybe 6 months after you get another update, maybe 8 months, depending on how many people get to experience, to progress, to clear the content. I'm not the best at this, I'm just giving my best ideas here. So I'm saying like 8 months for the first step. Then the second phase update, it's not with great content. You get Darmol, you get Azurgos and Kazak. So it's not a lot. So after phase 2 should be a short one, maybe 2 to 3 months. Because if you keep it more than that, people will get bored. Now phase 3, for example, it's a big upgrade. You get Blackwing Lair, a lot of loot to obtain, a lot of raid to progress through. Darkmoon Fair, a lot of trinkets to obtain, and whatever Darkmoon Fair does. This one should be longer, maybe 5 to 6 months. Phase 4, Zul'Gurub and Green Dragons. This one should be long as well, but not that long because Zul'Gurub it's easy to clear and the Green Dragons are hard to hunt. Maybe the phase 4 around 4 months, in my opinion. It gives you decent time to get some nature resist gear and to get prepared. Zul'Gurub it's easily killable, but yet again people need to get exalted with Zul'Gurub to get their shoulder enchants, their head and pants enchants. So I guess this is a decent content, 4 months at least. Phase 5, Ankiraj War Effort. dungeon loot reconfiguration tier 0.5. This is a lot of content in this patch. Not only that the loot get changes, so you have to farm things that you don't have already in normal dungeons. Maybe you have alts that you want to gear gear them with tier 0.5, do the quest, war effort, Anki Rush 20, 40. It's a lot of content. This can last for a while. And then, of course, the last phase 6, Nextrama, Scourge Invasion. If you guys know how much all these 6 phases should last, should they last 2 years, should they last 3 years? Please let me know in the comments what do you think it's the best option for them. At least for the second phase, which is Dar Mol, Azurgos and Kazakh, I don't think it's that much content, so they should keep that one shorter. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's move to the next update, which was actually the first one, I think, and when they started communicating with us. This was actually released 2 hours after I made my video Rex Reaches 5, I think, where I complained at the end that I lost my hype and I kind of made my viewers a bit depressed. But then 2 hours later I felt like a fool because we got this great upgrade. It was the first time when Blizzard told us that they took all the feedback that we gave them and they looked very good in it, because they talked about things that like the health regeneration from the demo, dodge, parry and mises. They talked even about the things that they investigated and they weren't like they used to be in classic vanilla WoW. Information from private server, for example, that weren't correct, like the Warlock summoning demon and so on. They told us things like critical strike rating. This was something that I discussed a lot, that the critical strike rating is calculated differently and it's way more powerful than it should be. The rogue energy that didn't work right, yes, they recalculated this. Slow fall, pushbacks from getting hit by ranged attacks and wands, and dodge, parry and miss were not happening often enough. But they also stated that this is not all that we've done, of course, but we want to give you an idea of what we're prioritizing. Core game system, combat and content. We've spent time on other things such as interface and making the graphics feel like they used to be. Remember the complaint where people said that the characters are moving too fast, the movement speed of a character is too fast. They even take a look into that. But our primary focus is on gameplay, of course. Again, we're following all of your discussion and loving your enthusiasm, and we're going to get more information for you to post here soon, and not soon TM, you know. Thank you, and get ready for a classic summer. The first update was a great one because they confirmed that it was a release on the summer. They also confirmed that they looked deeply into our feedback and they tried to deliver the most authentic classic WoW experience, which was very great for me. And I kind of got a bit of my hype back since I saw that, especially after 5 months. At one point, I think I even thought, before the updates, I even thought like, are they going to release the game during the summer? Or maybe they'll push back the release date 2-3 months. Maybe we get it for Christmas, maybe we get it on the WoW anniversary and so on 23rd of November. But then I got really happy with this update, and to be frankly honest, I think we'll get more. There are still things that are worth discussing, like sharding, right-click report, and I'm pretty sure we can find more things that need to be discussed. But at this rate, we got an update almost every week. At this rate, maybe we'll get, I don't know, maybe next one it's maybe next one it's right-click report. Maybe next one it's sharding. Who knows? The point is that it's getting only better and better. So far with what the update, what they gave us to us regarding the spell batch, the loot trading, the content release plan, it's just great. We need a release date. We need to know if there's a beta version. I cannot wait. I really hope there's a beta version. I want to test it. I want to stream it. I want to give feedback. Really, please, Blizzard, if you hear this, if you please give us a beta version, at least 1 week. It doesn't have to be that much. We don't want to get burned out or something. Just a beta so we can test it and we can see what you've worked so far. We're quite hyped about this, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one hyped about this, and who knows what the future brings. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm really happy that you made it so far until the end. This is like good news, and the future sounds bright. Hope that you see it as I do, and until next time, stay frosty.